Tonight on Cheering the Logo podcast, what led to major changes in management, the impact of the coaching change, what to expect in the off-season, young guns claim some hardware, the passing of a legend, and much, much more. It's all happening right now. Welcome to Cheering the Logo podcast. I'm your host, JD Lagrange. We have a full show for you tonight. Thank you for joining in. I'd like to introduce my co-host, the one and only Sylvain Perrault.
Hey!
Out of his busy schedule to be with us tonight.
Do you know how many people? Very good. Do you know how many people are the Republic of Congo? No, you don't. I don't know either. So I was just
The only thing I know about Congo is I think there was a song in the 80s.
Don't mix it with congas. That's the different things. Yeah. So how you doing, JD?
I'm doing well. It's been a while, huh? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. I had the chance to attend the funerals of the Golden Knights and the two podcasts on the postseason comments. So it's a great thing to be in a city where hockey is in a tradition, and you F up with all the crew you had, and you blame it on injuries. So if you transfer over the Golden Knights to Montreal, probably the city would be on fire.
It's basically the same story when it comes to injuries anyway. Perhaps not the same tradition, but it sure sounds about the same, doesn't it?
Yeah, completely.
I just want to remind people to, if you're watching on YouTube right now, click the subscribe button and hit the like button also. I mean, we appreciate the support here. And follow us also on our Twitter account at Cheering the Logo and on our Facebook page as well. So the Golden Knights are out. The Habs are out. So what do you do to keep busy now?
Work. Yeah. work. But outside of that, I've been watching the playoffs. So every second day I watch a different set of games because I have the luxury, like you, to live in the East. So we can start early and finish early. Even if it goes through, if it go to 3 overtimes, it's still kind of early for us. So we're good there. So right now, from a distance, what I can see, I've got Pittsburgh Rangers. So the other game I watched, the Capital. So it's all good there. But, compared to what we lived last year, the emotions are 0 plus 0. There's nothing. It's just like we're just
let's call a spade, Sly. I mean, this season has been a nightmare on many levels. I mean,
completely. Yeah.
Nobody saw that coming after reaching the Stanley Cup Finals less than a year ago, actually. Now the Canadiens have lost a few players to free agency. They tried replacing them with mixed success there. Also, the regular injuries. I mean, the Canadiens beat a record now with well over 700 games lost with COVID and injuries this year. It all went downhill from there, and it led to what we know is Marc Bergevin got fired, Trevor Timmins got fired, Scott Mellanby resigned over that, and Jeff Molson decided to split the job. He decided to hire an executive vice president of hockey operations, and he went and got the New York Rangers former GM, Jeff Gorton, to do that job.
Was there anyone available with a better resume than Jeff Gorton? I think not. So this is the perfect fit for Montreal. Obviously, our French Canadian Ayatollahs just went freak out and said, "Well, Jeff Gorton is not Jeffrey Gorton. and he's not a French Canadian. So the other guy Kent Hughes is not. I can't know. There's no French translation for that. But for the first time in a long time, including players, we got the best candidates available, and we pick them up.
Yeah.
So these two, especially for Jeff Gordon, if you watch the Rangers playing right now, this is Jeff Gordon's signature all over every player on that roster, every single player on that roster. So if you think that he cannot do it again, you're wrong. He's going to do it again in Montreal. And as for Kent Hughes, he was one of the most respected agent in the business, and he knows how to treat players. And some stuff we hear from Marc Bergevin right now is that he treated player like, and I was surprised, but apparently he treated players and negotiation. Dale Weiss, another player, mentioned that it's like merchandise. And I don't know if that's real, but I know it's not going to happen with Kent Hughes. He know how to, seduce players to come to play for a team, and he knows how to treat them well. So I'm the happiest guy in the world with these two guys there. They have a plan. They're going to stick to their plan, and fans better get on the bandwagon right now, because in 3 years, we're going to be successful for sure. Yeah.
Might even be sooner than that, in my opinion, but we'll see. I mean, it depends on the moves he'll be. We'll get to the moves that he might be doing this summer. Kent Hughes, I mean, we're talking about a rookie GM, and a lot of people were saying that basically he would be Jeff Gordon's puppet. But I think that we can definitely say, since he's been hired, that it's not going to be the case. The guy is a good hockey mind. He speaks clearly. He has a plan, and you can tell that he's a very, very smart hockey man.
The fact that he can speak French is a luxury for French media and the French fan, and I totally appreciate that. And people in Montreal should really give Kent Hughes more appreciation than he deserves right now. If you're not a Tremblay, you could be a Quebecois too, right? You can be that. Mm-hmm. So here's for that. Kent Hughes is a hockey brain. He knows how to manage players. He knows how to take care of them, and he knows how to take care of the alumni too, and which is a very important. And you got a lot of the alumni, older players coming in saying that, well, we just, they reached out to us recently, so we're going to bring back this, this flame and this savor and there's a tradition. So again, I mean, Kent Hughes knows his. I was going to say knows his shit, but knows his stuff.
That too.
But Gordon used together. There's what we call a two-headed monster when we talk about goalies. These guys are our two-headed monster. Comes to hockey management, and we are blessed. We are blessed. I'm all my cards are on the table right now. These two guys are going to bring us back to success.
I agree. I think that, and what we're seeing also is Kent Hughes mentioned that he's the type of person who thinks outside the box. And we've seen examples of that already. I mean, he went out and got a rookie coach in Martin St. Louis. You talk about alumni. He brought two of the biggest alumni from the Tampa Bay Lightning, Martin St. Louis and Vincent Lecavalier, as special advisors to the GM, now work for the Montreal Canadiens. I was a little bit skeptical when Jeff Gordon when Jeff Gordon, first of all, hired Kent Hughes. He was my candidate, don't get me wrong, but that's one guy with no previous GM experience. But now they went out and got a coach also with zero professional coaching experience even. I mean, the guy was coaching Pee Wee. Forces to admit that, and we'll get to the records and what he's done, what Martin St. Louis has done for the team, but forces to admit that we're not looking at a situation, Régent Houle and Mario Tremblay situation here when we're talking about those two rookies.
Yeah, so that's why my little impression of Régent Houle. So that's all right. But I love the guy. I don't want to mock him. I love the guy. So.
No, he's a great alumni. He was just placed in a position that he shouldn't have been placed in, and so was Trombley for that matter.
Yeah.
But anyway, long story short, I mean, those two guys, you can't compare to what's happened back in the mid 90s when those two guys were placed into that position. Because first of all, you got Jeff Gordon at the top, right? So he's there to ensure that if they start sliding sideways a little bit, that he's going to bring them back in the right direction. I don't think that he's had to do that at all. The Canadiens so far have had a very fortunate hand, let's face it.
Yeah. Here's the deal. So with every successful organization, whether it's in sports or everything, it all starts with a vision, right? So it goes from the top, from the owner, and then you have to determine how involved is going to be the owner. And that speaks to the kind of people he hires. So Molson is going to be involved with the business side of things, and obviously he's not going to talk to Gordon every thing every day about trades and about players like we suspect he was doing with Marc Bergevin, and then it goes from there. So you have the vision, the mission, and then the objectives, and how are we going to achieve this? And this is from Gordon to Kent Hughes. So the objectives, Gordon says, "Hey, Hughes, this is the objective. This is what we need to reach, and the timeline, and how we're going to do it, and how much money I'm going to be able to spend for this. It's your game." So I think we have now a corporate structure that is integrated, that is going to be comprehensible and successful. And the moves, I've seen them from different levels. I mean, you're talking about, I mean, the entire scouting. Well, the scouting head's gone, except for Martin Lapointe. This is a new philosophy there. Recently, what was that 2 days ago? Schallenberg, clarification of role. Not going to be the coach, vice president, the goalie coach, whatever director it was. He's going to be a professional scout. And if that doesn't work, get the hell out. But I think if he was nominated to that role, he accepted that role. So, and I think Schallenberg is a great hockey mind too.
But I think he's going to be GM somewhere at some point.
So. Exactly. So they just kind of put him on a nice pedestal. So he's going to do the year there. But we're now talking talking about hockey minds, and hockey IQ is not only for players but for management. I'm super excited with that.
It goes further than that, Sly, when you think of it too. I mean, look who they hired too for communications.
Well,
talk about a unanimous decision where everybody was on board with the hiring of Chantal Machabée as a VP of communications.
I think she's the only person in modern era of the Montreal Canadiens who made unanimity over there. I mean, go back to a couple of decades. It was Guy Lafleur, which we're going to talk about later. But Chantal was and still is the most respected hockey journalist in the business. And until someone really take the spot that she has, she is still the most respected hockey journalist in the business. Now with the Montreal Canadiens, not only she knows what needs to be done, but she's going to make it happen. And transparency, and talk about someone who's got thrown like literally in the shark pool at the beginning of her career over there. Like, Canadian sucks. It's the end of the year. We got new players coming. And then Mike Bossy passed, which he's almost a Montreal Canadian. He's a Quebecois, and then Guy Lafleur. And what are we hearing from everyone? It was magnificent. It was everyone. This is on Chantal, and that you translate that to next September, comes training camp. We're going to have better hockey players profile. Maybe that I still to be seen. Better access to players. All depends on the quality of the people who are asking for access to those players, but we're going to get transparency from the organization, which we haven't gotten in decades. And
that's one thing that we got to be careful about, because let's face it, I was shaking my head last week We'll get back to the passing of Guy Lafleur, obviously, but the whole story with Shea Weber, and then the whole story about people, Jeff Petrie not being at the funeral, and things like that. Some reporters are making her job extremely difficult. She's working her butt off, trying to get the players to open up, be more available. But when you have journalists or reporters, or call them what you want, radio announcers or whatever the case might be, who spend 3, 4, 5 days on the Shea Weber case, a guy who is extremely well respected across the league, not just in Montreal, across the NHL. Players talk, wives of players talk, and they see things like that. Players from other teams hear that stuff when they come to Montreal. Chantal can do only so much to tell the players to open up. But when they see stuff like that happening, when players see stuff like that happening, can you really blame Marc Bergevin for taking the hard line to protect his players? Or can you really blame the players for not wanting to talk to the media or being short and dry with the reporters?
You're absolutely hitting that on the nail right now. People don't understand, and reporters we're talking about the same people, but are uneducated or just too plain stupid. I mean, Price, Weber cannot talk about their current situation because of legal implication, because of insurance and everything. So PR gets involved, and they're trying to, just sugarcoat a little bit of the stories, but these guys can't, they really can get involved, and they can talk with their heart. They cannot do it. Just because the way it is. And some plain dumb, stupid people, I'm going to call them, but not by the names. I'm going to, next podcast maybe, but stop asking those stupid questions, because you should know better. And you think you're going to get a story out of this? You're not. The organization has kind of, surrounded these guys with a bunch of lawyers and PR people just to make sure that they don't get themselves in trouble. They don't get the organization into trouble. And specifically for Carey and Shea. And Shea is a legend around the league. Carey Price is a legend again around the league. So if you think you're going to take those guys out of their pedestal because of your stupid questions, not happening. Not happening. All you can do is scare the shit off of people, of great players who may want to come over to Montreal, like you said, JD. So free agency. I mean, with social media and agents right now, I mean, you'll see. I mean, hey, I'd love to. All the French Canadian players love to finish their career in Montreal. But the word is to finish their career. Anybody on their prime, in their right mindset, would come to Montreal right now? I don't know. I'm not sure.
And it's too bad because, I mean, like you said, and we talked about, we have exciting new management. We have a coach who is preaching a style of play that players love. Players talk around the league. So what these people are doing is they're undoing the good that's being done here. And speaking of coaches and thinking outside the box, I mean, let's look at Martin St. Louis and what he brought to the team. This guy has changed the mindset and also the approach that he's taken. I coached minor hockey. I've never coached professional, but what he was doing in practices by dividing the ice in half and so on and playing mini games, this is stuff that we were doing even with midget players. Don't call them midget now, it's U18 or something like that. But anyway,
midget would mean like
yeah.
players.
But what he was doing there is bringing the fun back, because let's face it, it was a heavy mood, especially with Bergevin being gone. I mean, Bergevin was a player's GM for his core at the very least. Okay, so we talked earlier that maybe some of them didn't get along with him, but I think that's normal. I think you'll see that with just about anybody. But a lot of players, a lot of his veterans, we're talking about Gallagher, we're talking about Petrie, we're talking about Price, Weber. Those guys were very, very close to Marc Bergevin, and so when you have a guy like St. Louis, and then they see that Bergevin is gone, you bring a guy like St. Louis, he needs to bring back the fun into playing because they've been losing so much. They had won, 7 games or something like that prior.
It is a game. So it's not, you're not a brain surgeon when you're a hockey player, right? So you don't hold like people's life in your end. It is entertainment. It is a game. It has to be fun for those who perform and for the people who receive the entertainment value of it. I think Martin St. Louis understood that. He knows the game. He may not be the best game technician and strategist, but at this point in time, this is not what we need. We're going to get a whole bunch of new young players and everything. They're going to be inspired by this guy who's not a legend from the 50s. He's a legend from the 90s and the 2000s. They saw him play on freaking TV, so they know who he is. And he's a great mind. He knows how to talk to players. So the secret for Martin right now is to surround himself. And I'm it's not a judgment call on the assistant because I don't have that competency right now, but right now or ever. But he needs to surround himself by people who kind of know how to prepare players to do it. And all Marty has to do is to inspire these guys and do something like what do you do with you remember the sequence where what he did with Cole Caulfield when in practice he said, don't do this, try this, and Cole Caulfield scored the
instead
exact
of a
same
one-timer, he told him to have a bit of a delay.
Yeah, exactly. But he may not be able to inspire Edmondson this way or a defenseman this way, but he can certainly relate to experiences he have and talk to players and get into their head positively. So I have total confidence that you will probably be announcing that he's signed a 3-year contract over the next few days. So there's a sequence of things that needs to happen. People are getting over their head right now, but just wait. Time is okay. So St. Louis is not going anywhere. He's going to be the coach for next year and for the next few years. And this team, before you know it, is going to be Martin St. Louis' team. Yeah.
Well, look at the difference actually ever since he took over. Under Ducharme, they had played 45 games, 37 under St. Louis, but they were playing for 256 when he took over. Now 432 is nothing to write a book about. We'll agree on that. But let's not forget though that he has lost also. Some people will say that he got some players back from injuries. They'll say that you'll have, he had guys like Edmondson that came back. He had a guy like Byron that came back. But let's not forget either that he lost Drouin. And also he's lost Toffoli, he's lost Charrot, he's lost Lehkonen, he's lost Kulak. And there were other injuries also while he was coaching. So,
and Jake Allen.
I don't like, and Jake Allen played 11 games, I believe, under him. Yeah, so we can't downplay what this guy has done. And if you look at the chart that I'm showing here, all the way up to the goals for, he's improved everything drastically. Okay, they were 32nd. Now they were 24th under him, with basically no changes to the lineup, really. And where it didn't improve was in the goals against. The shots for and against were about the same, and the special teams were about the same.
Well, that is a question of both talent and coaching. So it's nothing to do with coaching. I mean,
and those can be addressed with time. Coaching. Okay, when you talk about defensive coverage and things like that, I think that can be addressed with time. What he did bring, though, is a lot more goal. We're talking about, when we talk about a goal per game more, the Canadiens were scoring just over 2 goals a game. Well, they were over 3 goals a game. And when you score 3 goals, if you had Carey Price, a healthy Carey Price, and a healthy Jake Allen, if you score over 3 goals a game, you have a good chance of winning. We'll agree on
Oh,
that.
completely. So, um, we're out trying hard to disarm as and find reasons why disarm didn't succeed. It didn't work. Period. It did not work. And I'm hearing stories right now from my contacts that the playoff last year. The story I'm hearing the most is that Shea Weber and Carey Price told Ducharme, "Stay out of the room. We're going to take care of the players. They're going to be good for the game. They're going to be good for the game. They're going to be prepared. It's how this is going to work." And so, if you extrapolate that, you take that, you expand that to the beginning of next year, with all those leaders gone, Ducharme has absolutely zero ascendant or leadership or whatever you want to call it on the team over there. So that's that. Second proof, Cole Caulfield, 1 goal under Ducharme, 20 was at 21, 22 under the other. Under Martin St. Louis, finished first in the rookies
20,
and
22, yeah. He finished with 23.
it's just unbelievable. But Caulfield is just one example of Petrie or players playing better. Petrie is another one. Suzuki is another one who kind of increases productions and everything. So people think that coaching has a relative importance in all things. I think coaching is also about leadership, and with all the top heavy leaders being gone from the Montreal Canadiens right now, you look from leadership from behind the bench, and you didn't get it from the other guy. Now you're getting it from St. Louis. So next year, you start with a strong leader there. He's going to surround himself. Probably you're going to see 1 or 2 changes in the assistant coaches, but they're going to be strong personalities over there because we need to create a brand new identity for these Montreal Canadiens. They've gone without an identity for decades. Well, not really. Their identity was Carey and then Carey plus Shea. That was it, right? So I don't think I'm wrong there. But Carey, we're going to talk about it, but I think he needs to be discounted from that identity, and they need to build another one around the coach and a younger player. Yeah.
Look at the individual players actually and what they've done under Ducharme and under St. Louis. You were talking about Caulfield, and Caulfield had those are points per game, by the way. Those numbers that you're seeing, that 0.27 points per game under Ducharme. He went to 0.95 points per game under St. Louis. So that's a difference of 0.68 point per game. Jeff Petrie jumped from 0.16 to 0.7. Nick Suzuki had an increase of 0.32, so a point every 3 games more. And he already was having a good season. Look at Christian Dvorak. Many people were saying what a useless player that is, what a useless pickup that is. Well, he's at 0.77 points per game under St. Louis, which is the second highest on the team.
Well, actually, JD, from the high
third.
And yeah. You know, I'm not really a stats guy, but eye test for me, coming from the eye care industry, but eye test for me is everything. Dvorak, second to Caulfield, for me, is the most improved player under new management. And I've seen him play in Arizona, and obviously he played with Laurent.
I would put Petrie in there too.
Yeah, Petrie because a separate category, because he went through a existential crisis and everything. But Dvorak was playing okay, got injured, playing very well right now. So he's the ideal in a great team. Ideal third center. In a so-so team, cool second center. Unless you can get someone who can bump him out there, but he's never going to be a physical presence. Meaning he's not is he hit even 1.5 guy per game, but he's a physical presence. He mean that he puts a lot of shades in front of the goalie, so he's good there. But I've seen Dvorak playing like he's playing in his best year over in Arizona right now for the last 2 months, for example. So now Canadians are getting what they paid for, in Christian Dvorak.
And they paid a pretty hefty price for him, let's face it.
Completely.
But I mean,
Sure.
centers, NHL quality centers, top six centers, they're not cheap.
Oh no.
Some will argue that he's a middle six. I would probably.
Well, they're going to cost you. They're going to cost you a first round pick. So yeah, no matter what. Yeah.
But speaking of picks, I mean, it's not like they haven't. The Canadiens didn't pick up any other picks by being out of playoffs like that. They went out and picked up a couple first round picks from Edmonton, from Calgary, from Florida, from Calgary, and so the importance of the draft this year will be very important. Obviously, with the Canadiens finishing dead last, they're guaranteed a top 3 pick coming up in Montreal this summer. So obviously, it seems like Shane Wright is the consensus for number 1 overall. But then you get guys like Logan Cooley, and you have a few other players that the Canadiens could select, but they can't afford to miss the boat on this one. Wouldn't you agree?
No. Yeah, totally. So you use the right word, consensus, for Shane Wright. So consensus that means that some people are agree, but the majority agrees. They can't miss on this one. The reality is, this is not the greatest of all. So either Shane Wright or Cooley or the third or fourth one, they're not considered generational players. So it's not like Connor Bedard in 2023 or Sidney back in the days, or Matty Beniers, like for Seattle. These guys are considered generational players. We'll see over time for the newer guy, but I mean, I'd be pleased with any of the top 3 guys that I mentioned. So Shane Wright will be eligible to come to NHL next year. Cooley, I think, is going back to the NCAA unless something changed. The third guy. Is he a guy from Slovakia?
Slavovsky or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean,
big
I apologize. Exactly. I apologize to everyone who follows those prospects every day and they put boards on every day. I don't know how you do it. Someone's going to come on this podcast and explain how you do it, because I don't know. I don't have the time in life to watch games from freaking Dead Village and Slovakia. So anyway, that's that. I admire you, but the fact is that apparently Canadian will choose between 1, 2, 3 this year, and they're going to get a good.
And there's a defenseman, also right-handed defenseman, Nemec. I think that they're talking in the top 4.
I heard the name. So good for that, but they can't miss. The history is that they can't miss. They can't miss next year, and they can't miss the year after, because this is how you rebuild your thing.
You don't want team. Shane Wright to be a Doug Wickenheiser. You and I remember Doug Wickenheiser.
Well, you got to mention that Doug Wickenheiser instead of a Denis Savard. So because if you just mentioned Doug Wickenheiser, okay, well, we missed on him. No. You could have picked Denis Savard right there, who's Hall of Fame, won a couple of the Stanley Cups, and he was part of the 86 Stanley Cup, but he didn't play it because he was injured. But that's that. So you're not going to get a generational player out of Shane Wright. Maybe not. But it's going to be interesting, because it's going to be this new staff first pick, and it's in Montreal, and we have 14 picks on this draft, 12 or 14.
I was just going to mention that the odds right now for the Canadiens is 25.5% to select first overall. So that means that you have 74.5% chance that you won't. But let's look at it this way too.
Yeah,
it's the best odds.
Completely the best odds.
To pick
that's
first.
You can be the queen of the carnival if you have a lot of little balls and things.
But they're saying that Wright is comparable to Suzuki or Patrice Bergeron. Okay,
I'll take him.
They're comparing Wright to someone like that. They're comparing Cooley to a more dynamic offensive center. So,
yes, higher ceiling offensively than others. What I heard,
but maybe not. But maybe not the same 200-foot game.
But here's where the Canadiens are great, and every round, starting from the second, we're going to pick first in those rounds, right?
So, exactly. That is such a key point you're bringing up here,
Yes,
because
and
for
yeah,
those who don't know, the draft lottery is only for the top 16 or the first 16 picks in the first round, but the Canadians will pick first in the second round, third round, fourth round as well, and that is key.
completely. And so we got tons of choices, and our colleagues that are way more versed into prospect are salivating right now. They're just saying, "Oh, there's gonna couple of guys that are fall off like the first round, and they're gonna be up for grab first and the second." And we got a couple there. We got actually what 1, 2 in the second. So and there's room for move up or down. And yeah, think of Romanoff and others that I pick up over the history. I mean, there's so many of our players that have been
But
picked
the
up in the
Canadians
second,
Canadians
third
have
rounds.
10 picks,
Yeah,
10 picks in the first 4 rounds,
this
right?
is their specialty. This is where they excel. So it ends the first round where we got 2 picks for the first time in years, and then we got the first one on second. And yeah, I mean, this is going to be a fun ride, guys. So whoever is in Montreal for the draft, please attend because I won't. I won't. And please attend and just enjoy the ride. So
I got I
it's
got
gonna be
my
fun.
theory of what could happen.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's not based on anything. It's gut feeling. Um, the Canadians go to pick first. Let's say if they win the first overall pick, I'm saying, okay. The Canadians, instead of walking to the podium, it's Gary Bettman that walks to the podium and says,
Oh
"We
no.
have a trade to announce."
Oh no.
And then the Canadians at the Bell Center, with
Ugh.
him in attendance, pick up Alexis Lafreniere.
Not gonna happen. Not happening. Not happening. So
Not
no,
happening for who?
not happening for anyone. It's not happening. It's a no. The last time I was there for the draft, um, the Montrealers are proud to select. We are fiers de sélectionner
Louis Leblanc.
Louis Leblanc. I was there, and I was like, "What? Okay," because people were calling Louis, Louis,
Yeah.
Louis. That was it was just going wild, and I said, "Okay, we not only we f up the draft, we f up this young man, so he's not gonna be able to do that." Because I watched him like in AAA and everything. So what may happen this year, though, is that they're going to do their first pick, but their second first round pick from Calgary, they may try to merchandise it, package it, and try to get something. Alexis Lafreniere, he's going to cost more than that. So
Oh yeah.
I
That's
don't.
why I was thinking, if anything, it would be the first overall pick, because that's what he was as well, right? But
Yeah,
to get
but
a local talent,
nah.
um,
Oh, speaking of which, I just I was watching a YouTube video of Guy Lafleur returns to the Montreal Forum with the New York Rangers, and he
mhm.
scored 2 goals and 1 assist. The second goal he scored, the assist was the guy's name was Lafreniere. I didn't look at him, but it was just like, oh, okay, number 15, Lafreniere. And of it. That was everything isn't everything, right? So yeah.
So I want to switch topics here with you. The
Talk baseball.
Canadians
Baseball, Blue Jays,
definitely.
Blue Jays
Well, we'll
baseball.
still stick with the Canadians, but we'll switch gear a little bit here. Kent Hughes must. One of his biggest challenges is he was trying to shed up some cap space at trade deadline. We heard this week that apparently there was a deal in place for Shea Weber for his contract to be traded to Arizona, but it got stuck in paperwork apparently, and they couldn't pull the trigger before trade deadline. So there is a chance that he will revisit doing that. But even beyond that, the Canadians need to clear up some cap space, some major cap space. So what are the options actually for that? I mean, we're according to capfriendly.com, the Canadians already have 81.5 million of projected cap hit committed to only 17 players with
Yes.
an NHL contract next year. So this, of course, includes Shea Weber's contract. It includes Price's contract, which we'll talk a little bit later about Price's future. So the cap will be going up by 1 million next season. It will go up to 82.5 million. So that's not a big cushion to play with.
They have no right now, if they don't do any move and they were right to sit on their hands, they have absolutely no place to go, and there will be screwed as the Golden Knights uh, as the season starts. So options, what are they? Not that many actually. You're gonna count. You're gonna need to pay to other teams to give you options. Um, Jonathan Drouin and Paul Byron are at their last year of contracts, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
So, are they tradable at trade deadline? Maybe, but here's the deal. So you got to have cap. You got to be cap compliant. Comes their first day of the new season. So you can exceed the cap from 10 millions during the summer, but here
So
comes
there's
the end
so
of the
there's the
week.
contract
Yeah.
situation for the Canadians here. So
So
you got Carey Price who's
yeah.
signed till 25, 26. Suzuki's just starting his new contract.
Well, talk about the heavy hitters, like the one that are going to be a weight for the organization right now.
Well, Gallagher, we don't know. A lot of people think, and our senior writer at Cheering the Logo wrote about him, saying that it's concerning the fact that Gallagher was not producing this year, the
But
first year of his contract.
according to you, JD is not going anywhere.
No, and there's probably a couple of reasons for that. I mean, obviously his leadership and his work ethics and stuff like that. But I do believe, if you listen to Gallagher in the postseason um, media meeting, he was saying that he didn't have the last 2 years. He didn't have his regular training regime in the off season. And to him, for a guy like that, for a guy who's going all in on every shift, it is absolutely necessary. For one thing, he didn't have time to heal, but also the way he explains it is he builds his body up during the off season. He builds his body up to sustain the tough season, and then he maintains it throughout the year, but they do fade towards the end anyway. Well, he hasn't had a chance to build up his body to that point and even heal up from previous years. So I think now, with having an extra long time in between, and Gallagher was one of the ones on the graph that we showed who had picked up his game under St. Louis, I think that you could see a Gallagher who will score anywhere between 25 to 30 goals again next year.
Well, I just hope, because this contract, when I look at him, I get chills right now. So, oh my God, 26, 27. I'll be personally retired by then. So it's just like, oh yeah, this is a drag. So if he can contribute for the next 2 years, we'll be super happy. And then cap magic will work, and they're gonna swing his contract to somebody else who needs to reach the cap, and maybe he'll be on. No, we don't wish that to anyone, but I mean, the way Brendan Gallagher is playing, he may end up his career on LTR as well. So that's how it is. I'm more concerned about, because what can we unload right now? So Savard,
Well, we know that
who's
Jeff
going to take
Petrie
that?
was close, right?
Yeah,
Jeff Petrie was
P-
close to being
P-
traded, and he's picked up his value.
yeah,
Let's face it.
Petrie's gone. He's going to be a good deal for his value. Hoffman maybe. Armia is not going anywhere. Savard is not going anywhere because they're going to need his leadership. Byron, maybe he could be subject to a buyback, so that could be their solution. There's
I
not,
wouldn't be surprised if they bought out Byron.
yeah. There's not that many options. I mean, the two big swings here are well, there's three actually. There's Petrie, there's Weber, and there's Carey Price. So if something happened
Price.
between, well, yeah. So
Forget Price, and the reason why I'm saying that is he hasn't played enough, and he's got issues with his knees.
No, but Price is going to be the LTR money for next year. So
but they're talking about trading. You're right. They're talking about trading Weber. Okay, they're saying that could still happen.
Yeah,
but I do believe that one of Drouin or Hoffman could be traded. Okay, not both.
It's going to be Hoffman. Yeah, it's going to be Hoffman.
And I do believe also that you will see. I agree with you that you will see Petrie traded. However, Kent Hughes said that he will be replacing Petrie if he trades him. Yeah. He wants a veteran right-handed defenseman to take his spot. So whether it's a John Klingberg or whether they're talking about his former client, Chris Letang, those guys won't come cheap. And I'm not sure that it would be
No,
cheaper than
and
Petrie.
both of them know that this is the last contract, right? So it's the last lucrative contract. So they're obviously gonna to squeeze it as much as they can and try to get it in. So yeah, it's an interesting game of financial over there. So we can speculate as much as we can. Carey is still the big enigma there, and Carey holds the key to pretty much everything that's going to go
Financially
yeah,
and in net.
and in that, yeah.
And in net.
Mhm.
We'll get back to Carey in a bit here. Before that, I want to say that, Kent Hughes wants to be he says himself that he wants to be a major player on the free agency market. Well,
Good
for
luck with
that,
that.
you need
Yeah.
the cap space for sure, but also you need to figure out what it is that you can go get and at what costs. So it's going to be a very, very important off season for Kent Hughes, and he's got his work cut out, I tell you.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, these guys are going to be well. They're going to. The greatest asset they have right now is the financial guy over there, who's a cap magician over there, same as the guy they have in Tampa Bay. But the reality is they're going to need to unload a lot of money and a lot of finance. And I'm repeating myself, Carey as the key to the kingdom right now. So
Well,
Carey,
let's
yeah,
get to Carey. Let's
yeah,
get to Carey
let's
right
go.
now.
Let's go there. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the news coming out in Vegas, but there is a. Let's see here. Let me just pull out the quote here so that we know what we're talking about here. My dog is dreaming. Do you hear that?
And I'm thirsty, so I'm going to start barking too.
So Kent Hughes here was questioned on 90. He was interviewed on 91.9 Sports about Carey Price and the goaltending situation in Montreal, and he said that. Then those are his words. We have no one in our organization who has shown to be capable to be a number one in the NHL. That is huge.
That is huge, but I don't
huge.
think
He's probably talking about short term. He's probably talking about next year if Price can't play. So that what this tells me is that he's going to try to go solidify the position of goaltending here, and he's going to try to go get another goalie as a security, as an insurance policy.
Yeah, try to find a goalie between the age of 24 to 27, somewhere in the NHL who can be the 1A, 1B kind of thing.
With Jake Allen, maybe.
We know all the way here. I mean, we know Allen is a 1B kind of guy. And when he mentioned that there's no one who can be the 1A guy, I think it's not a declaration or an opinion on Jake's talent. It's just on his sustainability. This guy has a record of getting hurt, like if he plays too much. So if you manage your goalie well, and you got a 1A, 1B, like I don't know, right now they have this Fleury Talbot tandem. I'm going to take that example because I know Marc-Andre a little bit more. But you got a 1A, 1B tandem. You split the 82 games between these two, you're in freaking business, right? So, and if anyone gets hurt, the other one picks up more of the slack. We do not have that in Montreal. And I think they come to a realization that Carey will never be the 1A who's going to take 60 games and the other guy is going to take 22. Never again. And if he comes back in some kind of a shape, he's going to be the 40 game guy. So they need to find the perfect 1A, 1B until the next 1A comes. And it's not primo in my book. Is it one of the three other goalies they have in the OHL, NCAA, or in Europe? I don't know. But right now, this is a very, very interesting situation. Not only from a goalie perspective, from a philosophical perspective. So, how much money are you ready to invest in your goalie to be successful?
Stefan Waite I don't know if you've heard that this week, but Stefan Witt was saying that he thinks that Price pushed too hard in the playoffs and that it could ultimately cost him his career.
I agree. Same as
So
Weber. Same as
yeah,
Weber.
and that's exactly what Weber did. So you're right. I mean, you look at, and that's coming from his goaltending coach, right? He looked good in practice. He looked good before he came back. He was moving well, but in game situations, his knee was swelling, and he is, according to Price himself, limited in some of the things that a goalie needs to do in today's NHL. This does not look good. Yeah,
No.
he is looking at a potential second opinion on his knee. The surgery is not out of question, according to Price himself in his press conference after the season. I have a feeling here that the Carey Price era, as you said, as we know it, might be over or coming to a tail end. There were rumors this winter that the Canadiens, and that I don't remember if that was under Bergevin or under Kent Hughes. It was pretty much in that time, though, when the switch happened, where they were looking at Samsonov in Washington,
Yep.
24-year-old, good potential. He was a former first-round pick, 25th overall, if I'm not mistaken. He hasn't lived up to expectations yet, but that's not unusual for a 24-year-old. I could see someone like that who is more NHL ready than, let's say, a Caden Primo to work, and relatively cheap too. So if Price comes back, because I'm not sold on Montembeault being able to do that
Oh no.
job.
No, I love the guy. I really love the guy. He's a resilient. He's been there. But man, I don't think this is how things are gonna pan out well for him. So and Montembeault is RFA, right? UFA at the end of the year? RFA?
RFA, yeah,
RFA. So
restricted
RFA.
free agent.
So will they offer him a contract? Maybe there's gonna be a two-way. Um, I can see a Primo Montembeault, duo back in Laval. That would be interesting to see. Um, there's always been question of what's that? Vileuso, the guy from the goalie from St. Louis, who's a UFA at the end of the year. There's
Mm-hmm.
going to be a market, definitely a market for goalies. But everyone doesn't have a phenomenon in their, like the Askarov and the others. They're going to go to 1A, 1B. They're going to do with that. So 1A, 1B. So
Mm-hmm.
I think the Montreal Canadiens have to find a way to get that 1A, 1B, even with the prospect coming, and find the right and the exact amount of money to spend on goalies. And knowing that we're going to be a more offensive teams and, more into the attack and everything, we're basically just, was it 10 for carry, 10.5 for carry, and what is it for Jake? Like 3
2.8, yeah.
2.8. So we're looking at $14 million for a goalie who, we're splitting times our goalie who's not there. So it absolutely makes no sense. And the biggest challenge right now to turn the corner for the Montreal Canadiens is that financial burden that they have.
There's a couple more topics I want to touch on here, Sly, and I just want to quickly browse over. I want to talk about player development a little bit, okay, for the young players that are coming up. I mean, we've seen several of them already. But there are two young players who have been developing pretty good under the old management, and they had their share of awards too. I mean, Nick Suzuki won the Molson Cup this year, and also Alexander Romanov won the Jacques Beauchamp Trophy for the Hansung Hero. So those are two guys who have been perhaps with Ben Chirot before he got traded, and maybe Tyler Toffoli before he got traded, have been perhaps the most consistent players all year. The progression of Romanov all year has been outstanding.
Is there an award for the most likable players? Because these two will get it. I mean, equal. I mean, is there, if the Montreal Canadiens are building on their futures to to go ahead and be more successful and get the confidence back from the fans, these two guys are the pillars of all this. And I should have a third vignette here for Cole Caulfield, who's should be Rookie of the Year in a normal season, and should he have played for St. Louis all year. So okay, you got Suzuki, the future captain. Romanov, we should eventually get an A on his there, but this guy is going to stabilize the defense for a while, and then you got Cole Caulfield. So you got three pillars there, and the others are gonna. They kind of share the same culture, right? So life is good. This is a game, and make it fun. And these three are all about that, from what I can see, and in very different ways. I mean, they're so different in personalities, but this makes it exciting. I mean, if I had to buy jerseys right now, these from Montreal Canadiens, and I had the money, I would buy 3 jerseys: Caulfield, Romanov, and Suzuki, and they'd be my guys for a couple of years. Yeah, I'm happy for that.
You and I are from the same generation, Sly. We have seen the Montreal Canadiens develop players, young players. Guy Lafleur sat at the end of the bench for the most part for 3 years before becoming who he is, who he became. And we have seen players mostly, going back and forth between the farm team and the NHL.
Hey, Patrick Roy played in Sherbrooke with Brian Skrulin, Stéphane Richer, tons of people there. Nothing wrong. It's a glory to win in the AHL and at development level, and then to come to the NHL as a hero.
But remember what Montreal was doing, Sly? They were taking players from the AHL, their best rookies from the AHL. They were bringing them up for a few games, sometimes only one game.
Yep.
Giving them the taste of first-class hotel, the charter flights, the high life, the good salary, the good food, and then they would send them back. And what this did is it gave those young players an additional source of motivation to get back up. Well, that's what Kent Hughes was talking about doing, not in so many words, but he said because a player starts the season in Montreal doesn't mean that he will play the entire season in Montreal next year. If a player starts in Laval, doesn't mean that he will be playing the entire season in Laval next year. He is planning on doing that. He's planning the guys that can clear waivers, that are waiver exempt. He's planning on sending those guys back and forth between the two teams for their development. And I'm one who strongly believes in that type of learning.
But you know where that comes from? Speaking with alumni and people who experience that, and goes back to Yvon Lambert, who played with the Halifax, whatever, Voyageur back then, and I mean, some guys played for Houston Aeros before they were in the WHL. So it was the same thing. They were sent to Alcatraz, literally, to play hockey, and then you go to the Forum, you get a standing ovation. It's good. Hey, buddy, that's the only one game, so you're getting sent back to the freaking bus the week after. So if you really want to be here, just show us. Just show us. You've been good, but just show us that you really want to be here and you want to display like a Ted Harris of this world and Pete Mahovlich of this world. And today, I think they want to kind of instill the same kind of culture. So you really want to be here? Just screw Paul Byron. I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna be better than him. I'm gonna want this. Third pair, Chris Weidman. Screw him. I'm gonna be better than him, and I'm gonna show you. So
I've never been a believer in keep holding spots, because you hear fans say that.
Yeah.
Well, you need to save a spot for so and so. No, you don't save spots.
Hell no.
If they beat them to the wire, and Brandon Gallagher did that.
Yeah.
That's one thing that Bergevin did well, is for the most part, unless he was in a position of weakness like center, okay. But he told everybody, show me that you earn the spot, and I will make room for you. And he did.
Well, that's what Romanov did, actually. So
Romanov did that.
He built a couple of guys, so he can be a witness of that. And Barron knows. I mean, Barron is going to be there. Harris is going to be there next year. They're going to have their shot at training camp, and kind of knowing these guys' history, they're going to get a miss on it. But if they end
signed
up
the young kidney.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah, they
You're
signed
right,
him
kidding.
too. Very
Wonderful.
good for
Yeah,
him.
and but they got some more people to sign there.
And
But
that's one way. That's one
yeah,
way to lure back the fans.
yeah,
Okay, the fans are excited now. They see the young guys. They've seen a bunch of young guys. Now they see that not everything that the Bergevin Timmins management did was bad. So they realize now that there are some good prospects coming up. A guy like Ilonen is a very good prospect in my books. He's the guy who
yeah.
could replace a guy like Lekanen in the lineup,
Easy. Yeah.
and he could even start next year. I wouldn't be surprised. Don't be
But
shocked.
the thing is that they're gonna have more material, and they have Chantal Macabé now to build stories around those players and prospects that are coming in, like Olivier
Get to know
Kapanen.
them.
Olivier Kapanen is an example. I don't know much. I saw some of that, and apparently he's the top prospect that they haven't signed yet. So if he comes, because he's ready to play with the man, he's playing with the man already. So if we can instill a new culture, saying, "Hey, you got to fight for your job," and there's nothing wrong with displacing a veteran over there. If Kapanen is, I don't know anything, but if Kapanen is better than Drouin, Drouin is going to be on the bubble. That's it. It is what it is. We're going to be a better team, and then the fans are going to associate with these success stories, or people are fighting for their job and getting in there, and winning their position. You sign a free agent, it's an automatic, right? So, oh well, I signed Mathieu Perreault. He's going to be, kind of slot in the third line or anything. It doesn't sound good. I mean, for as much as I like him, he has the same last name as me, but we love stories of people who are fighting their way up, and this is what the Montreal Canadiens are always about. And if they can return to this kind of culture, man, we're going to be in a good ride. At least there are going to be some good articles to be written by journalists, even the lazy ones.
Yeah. Or the
Oops.
ones that don't quite have the talent that others do.
Well, yeah.
We have one final topic to cover, you and I. I think you know where I'm going with that.
Hmm.
It has been a very, for people of our generation in particular, it's been a very emotional couple of weeks now. Um, we've lost a not only a player, we've lost a legend. We've lost an angel got his wings, I like to say. Guy Lafleur passed away. It was expected. He had been battling cancer for several months, and it hit close to home for me for multiple reasons. Obviously, I grew up watching Lafleur, Dryden, Robinson, Nyland, and those guys, obviously. But I have also lost my mother to cancer last July, okay, to a battle, lung cancer that she had. And I just want to say fuck cancer, first of all, okay? Sorry for the language if you're offended. It's not meant in a negative way here. How it affected me was more than I expected. Um, he's a hockey player, yes, but I realize now that he is in the same mold, in the same ring as guys like the Rocket and guys like Jean Béliveau. They are more than just former Montreal Canadiens. They represent more than what they meant to the Canadiens. It's what they mean to the province of Quebec, is what they mean to the fans beyond that, as good people and good ambassadors for the game and for the Canadiens.
Yeah, so there's a picture where you can see the trio of them on the same picture. So basically, and looking at the sky, which is kind of a sign of the future kind of thing. So you see that. These three guys are probably the best hockey trio in heaven right now, and the most intense one. So you got Rocket, who changed the Quebec society in years in the 50s and the 40s, where the French Canadians were fighting for their right to live. And you get Jean Béliveau, who's it was a gentleman. It was no one speaks bad of John Béliveau. He was the incarnation of excellence. And younger people think of Mario Lemieux. Mario was I would say, I mean, not a copy, but a modern incarnation of Jean Béliveau. So Béliveau was to his era that what Mario Lemieux was, and then you got Guy Lafleur, and I'm still trying to find a comparison to Guy Lafleur and what he did. Is humility. Talent converse with humility, and the fact that he took no shit from management, from anyone. So this guy, and there's something in common with all these three guys. At one point, with their management, the Montreal Canadiens, they say, "No, absolutely not. I'm going to stay home. I'm going to go home. You're exploiting me." And this was a symbol of this society too. So, yeah. So and Lafleur was one of my idols. Obviously, I met him a couple of times personally, but Béliveau was the ultimate guy. But anyway, up to Lafleur, we lost not only a great hockey player, that's that. I invite everyone to go on YouTube and watch the game. Is returned to the Montreal Forum. I think it was the Molson Center then. I'm not sure. But the game when he played for the Montreal region against the Montreal Canadiens, this will give you chills. If you're a hockey fan, watch the entire thing. So everybody on the broadcast is dead. They're all died, and those are guys they left with their memories and everything. So you got Guy, you got Jean Paget, you got René Lecavalier and Gilles Tremblay. These three guys in broadcast were the best in the business. And then you got Guy Lafleur, who was having fun like a freaking 14-year-old, scoring against the Montreal Canadiens, and people were giving ovations like crazy. I would have give my freaking mortgage out just to be there and give an ovation. So that's not for Guy. He was a real human being with his good and bads. So that I think that wasn't made him what he is, what he was. And say goodbye. So there's another angel looking after the Montreal Canadiens not only in the rafters but in heaven right now. So goodbye, my friend.
Absolutely. Well said. So that's it for us tonight. It is Mother's Day on Sunday. Okay, so just timing, right? We talked about Guy Lafleur passing and the passing of my mother. That's going to be the first Mother's Day that I spend without her here. So it's going to be probably an emotional
JD
one.
is going to be about 12 years since was that 10, 12 years since my mother passed, and every Mother's Day is the same. So I just want to discourage you or anybody listening to this podcast. It's painful every time.
What I want to say though is, if she's alive, hop in the car, go see her, give her a big hug. If she's too far, pick up the phone, talk to her, tell her you love her.
Yep.
We make mistakes. Sometimes they make mistakes. It's not important. What's important is take advantage while they're still there. I want to thank you, first of all, Sly, for joining me for this podcast. I know your schedule is absolutely crazy these days. And hopefully at some point, I've always said if work gets in the way of your hobbies, then it's time to quit your work.
Thinking about it. Seriously.
I'll keep plugging away at that. I'm recently retired myself, so I can tell you that now the sad part about being retired is you never get a day off. So think about it first, right? So anyway,
eventually, I'll follow your advice. Yeah.
So thank you very much for joining me. I want to end the show on something a little bit special. I want to send you off tonight with Quebec's beloved singer Ginette Renault and her rendition of her song L'Essentiel that she sang at Guy Lafleur's national funeral. And I want to dedicate that obviously to Guy, but also to all the mothers out there who are with us, and also those who are not with us. So I leave you with Ginette Renault singing L'Essentiel in French. Hopefully you guys understand. Madame Renault, we will remember in the playoffs a few years ago, was singing the national anthem to inspire our players. So here we go.
L'essentiel, c'est d'être aimé. Le reste importe peu. La seule vérité, c'est compter pour quelqu'un. Quoi qu'il puisse arriver, c'est entrer dans son cœur et n'en sortir jamais. C'est recevoir autant qu'on aimerait donner, ne plus s'appartenir, en être rassuré. C'est voir la joie de l'autre et fondre de bonheur, mériter sa confiance et devenir meilleur. L'essentiel, c'est d'être aimé, contrairement à tout ce qu'on peut raconter. Ce n'est pas la fortune ou la célébrité qui ne sont que du vin et ne font que passer. Je crois que l'important est fait du petit rien, être attendu le soir et courir en chemin. Un des plus beaux cadeaux que nous ait fait la vie, c'est quand notre prénom a l'air d'un mot gentil. Guy. L'essentiel, jour après jour, c'est le rire aux éclats d'un enfant qui accourt et qui nous saute au cœur en guise de bonjour. Que demander de plus quand ses bras nous entourent? Le reste importe peu. La seule vérité, c'est compter pour quelqu'un, quoi qu'il puisse arriver. Être un jour exilé en pays étranger et avoir dans son cœur quelqu'un qui parlait, c'est inspirer à l'autre un sentiment si fort qu'il pourrait nous poursuivre au-delà de la mort. C'est d'être aimé encore